site.
10-4, Welcome to Law and Order BUX. I'm your host, Bucks County Sheriff Fred Harran. Every corner of Bucks County has a story to tell. Sometimes a story of resilience. Sometimes a story that chills us to the bone. Sometimes a story of government not being able to get out of its own way. Here, the forces of law and order are constantly at work, often behind the scenes. Join us as we delve into the gripping realities of crime and justice in our community. We'll explore the hidden worlds, the difficult decisions, and the unwavering commitment it takes to maintain law and order right here in Bucks County. Hello, and welcome to episode 26 of Law and Order BUX, BUX. I cannot believe that we've had 26 episodes already. Very excited about today. As my time here comes to a close after 4 years, 35 years in Ben Salem and now 4 years in the sheriff's office, there's been so much that has been accomplished here in this office with the men and women. And I really wanted to talk about that. And, the holiday time is just a time for reflection. And I think when better to reflect that at Bucks County, Law and Order BUX. And I think that's really what I want to spend some time today looking at some of the things that have happened here in the office. We want to talk about the big picture, kind of, when I came in, what I was looking to do and what we did. We wanted just not to maintain, the status quo in the office. I came here with the idea of really changing it and transforming the office into a premier law enforcement department. Not everybody, and I'm not talking about inside, but there were people on the outside of this office that, just wanted it to be the status quo and just move prisoners around and, watch the courthouse doors and things of that. And that wasn't why I came up here. I really wanted to take this office and turn it into something. I wanted to modernize it. I wanted to hold folks accountability. I really wanted that connection with the public. And I think we've done a lot of that. I think, if you look at it, this is what this office has done. And I want to dive into that more specifically, each of those things. A personal note, November of 21, I was ecstatic to get the support of the Bucks County residents to be able to become your sheriff. I've been doing this for 4 years now. It's been an amazing 4 years. It far exceeded the expectations that I thought. When I came in here, I was in municipal policing for 35 years, 16 of those as the chief in Ben Salem. And I really wasn't sure what to expect. I didn't have a lot of, contact with the sheriff's office, except through Ben Salem in a professional matter. I knew a couple of the deputies, but not a whole heck of a lot of them. But I did know I wanted to take what I did in Ben Salem with the men and women there and bring it to the sheriff's office. And from what I heard, a lot of folks were excited about that. They were excited about doing some new stuff. So let's take a dive into what exactly we did over these last 4 years. And I say we because it wasn't me; it was the team, from the command staff here, from the chief deputy to my 2 lieutenants, to the 4 sergeants, 4 corporals, and of course all the deputies and the civilian staff, the support staff. We had a lot of people working, and the men and women in the support team, I mean, they have their own specific assignments, but man, they far exceed my expectations. I mean, they give it 110%. It's a really good office environment here. Of course you have your normal stuff like any other organization, but man, when it comes down to it, they get the job done. And I'm very, very proud of all of them here. And I know they'll continue to flourish in their assignments if they're allowed to do that, which I'm sure they will be. So, one of the first things I wanted to do, or obviously it wasn't first because the other one we just concluded after 4 years, our policies and procedures needed to be updated. So I wanted to take a deep dive into that. And we did. We achieved two things called PLEAC. PLEAC is the Pennsylvania Chiefs Commission on Accreditation, which means that your policies and procedures are, above standard. And they're in conform with a lot of other municipalities throughout the Commonwealth. The problem is there's only, I think, less than 200 police departments that have PLEAC out of just under 1,200 in the Commonwealth. But the Pennsylvania Chiefs do a good job. And I think we have like 19 in Bucks County. Almost half the departments in Bucks County have that state accreditation. And I thought that was very important. It was it was going to be something we could achieve a little quicker because it wasn't as rigorous as the CALEA, the national accreditation. But, we got that, I guess, maybe a year and a half ago. And then I wanted to continue on and get CALEA. And you hear me talk about that, but CALEA is the national accreditation. And only 15% of sheriff's departments nationally have that standard. That is the platinum standard of policing with, I believe it's close to like 200 procedures and policies that you must conform to. And then they send assessors out and do, first they access your database and they look at all your policies and procedures through the computer, but then they actually come out and go through everything and meet with people, interview deputies, interview other people. And, I'm glad to say we passed that. And the sheriff's office will be officially awarded that, I think, in February or March. But I got the word that we passed. They were just here a couple of weeks ago. And we passed, and we just have to get the blessing from the final commission back in February or March of 26. And we are the only sheriff's office in Pennsylvania that has that. The only one out of 67 sheriff's offices, we are the only ones that have CALEA. And we are the only second law enforcement agency in Bucks County to have that. Ben Salem is the other one. Surprise. And there's now, I think we are the 14th law enforcement agency in the Commonwealth to have it. So, 15% of sheriff's departments nationally, no other sheriff's departments in Pennsylvania, 14th department, Pennsylvania to have it, and the second one in Bucks County. So that is pretty amazing. And that was all the men and women. It was a hands-on deck, process going through, bringing our policies and procedures up to that platinum standard. It wasn't mandatory. We did this voluntarily. The department signed up for it. Certainly it was something I wanted to do. And it was very, very important to me to get that done because now, they'll be able to display and they'll be able to tell people we have the platinum standards of, for sheriff's offices or law enforcement in the country. And not everybody gets to make that, and not everybody gets to pat themselves on the back for that. But the men and women here should be very, very proud of it. The other thing that we wanted to do is we were able to secure a federal grant to get body cameras. I did that in Ben Salem. I think in 2025, transparency is so important. We don't have the same contact with the public necessarily that municipal police officers. We're not responding to 911 calls, but we do have a lot of contact with our teams out there, our warrant teams, our civil teams. Officers do go on calls if they're in the area and they're needed, plus the contact we have with people in the courthouse. It's very, very important. I think, for an agency not to have body cameras in 2025, I'm not sure why they wouldn't, especially since there's so much federal money and there was no local tax dollars spent on that. That was all spent on a federal grant we got through Congressman Fitzpatrick's office. And I think it's very important. Now, still, that's tax dollars, but it's not local tax dollars. So people say, well, what's the difference? Well, that federal tax dollars, somebody's getting it. It's not like they're going to put it into something else. If I don't take it, then there's going to be a fish hatchery in Kansas, with extra rainbow trout in it. So why not us get that money? And I think that's very important. Transparency, I don't think anybody could be, I was that way in Ben Salem and I wanted to be that way here in the sheriff's office, with just these podcasts, with getting guests on and the couple shows we had with people sending questions. I would have liked, the next 4 years, we would have done a lot more of that. But I'm glad we got a chance to do, 26 episodes. So that's, half the year, we did a podcast. And it took us a while because there's so many other things we wanted to do. That was not a priority, but it was something that I wanted to do. and we got it done. The video updates, constantly pushing out stuff on social media. The Warrant Wednesdays. I think that's what the public will miss most. I'm not sure. It certainly won't be me. It will be Warrant Wednesdays. I got so many great comments. And, some people think, oh, there's a lot of goofy people make negative comments. I'm like, listen, if you don't like it, don't watch it. So I don't understand. That's why I'm off personal social media. You won't find me on anything but LinkedIn because Facebook, annoyed me. So Facebook didn't come to my house and log me in and make me watch it. It annoyed me. I got off of it. So if Warren Wednesday or anything else annoys you that we're doing here, it's great. Just tune it out, shut it off, disconnect. We don't force you to watch this stuff, but the majority of public really, really liked it. Vast majority, 95% of those that are watching it were all very positive comments. I appreciate that. And the other good thing is we got bad guys off the street. We got criminals off the street. And really, that's what our job is all about. I don't understand where the negative, and we try to put some humor into it. And you know me, I'm not making fun of people's bad situations. We have so many resources here in the sheriff's office, and then we brought here the Veterans Response Team that now is countywide. It started here in the Bucks County Sheriff's Office. We brought it here from Montgomery County Sheriff's, from Sheriff Kilkenny. Sorry, Sean, we stole it from you. He knows that because we met with his people. And then we turned it over to Matt Allen because it belonged on the other side. It belonged with Matt Allen from Director of Veterans Affairs, who's now taking it and doing phenomenal work. But that started here with, remember Todd Kessler from our scope unit. It started with Todd, and he brought it here, and now it's a staple in Bucks County. So I think that was very important to get that out there. We have an assessment center, drug assessment center for people that's suffering from addiction. We have it right here on level B2 in the sheriff's floor. I work with the Bucks County Drug and Alcohol Commission on that. We got that funded, and now we have a full-time assessor that's paid for by the Drug and Alcohol Commission through grants. That's right here in the criminal justice system. And we've had podcasts on this. Someone that's suffering from addiction, they don't have 3 days to decide if they want help. They don't have 3 hours. They might not even have 30 minutes. They might not even have 3 minutes. Sometimes it's a matter of seconds, maybe as much as 30 or as little as 30 seconds to decide that moment if they want to, get off of drugs. And, we partner with the judges here. The judges send people down here. I recommend that people come down there. Sheriffs escort them, and they can get help right here in the building. They don't have to go outside across the street. They don't have to go home and make phone calls and fill out paperwork. They do it right here. It takes about 60 minutes to get assessed, and we will get you treatment if you want treatment. And that is our goal. We're a full service sheriff's department. So I'm very proud of that as well. I know we're going to talk about a lot of other things. The other thing was our warrant team. I came in here. I know Sheriff Worrell started hitting those warrants, and I know he had fights with across the street with manpower and stuff like that, but I don't really know what happened. When I came in, there was really not full-time warrant team. So we have 2 full-time warrant teams out there, and I'm proud to say we've reduced our warrants. I think I've been saying 40%. I think it's like 36%, to be honest with you. But it's, so you want to say 40, 36, we round up. I guess someone could say one's a round down. I don't know, but 36% is still pretty darn good. And we took in, since January of 22, since I started here, we took in 17,000. You did not mishear me, folks. 17,000 new warrants came through our doors. And I think that's a lot. And I think I'm going to get the final count before I walk out the door, but we're somewhere like 4,600 warrants. So that is amazing. When I came in here, we were at 7,800. We've taken 17,000 warrants since I got here in January 22. And we're continuing. We've got 2 full-time teams, a supervisor, a K-9 officer that's out there. So we got like 10 people full-time just hitting warrants. That's like 14% of the department just doing warrants. And that is key. And I don't care what folks were telling you. We never once, went back or pulled manpower off of our warrant unit. That is, I'm not even gonna say a misconception. It was a lie. It was a 100% untruth lie that people were just spewing out there. We never stopped with our warrants. That is nonsense. If anybody tells you that we did, you could tell them they're a liar, because that just never, ever happened. The other thing we did was we created a canine unit in, podcast 25. The podcast before this was with Christine Brewerden, one of our canine officers, and her dog Zeke. And we created in September of 22. She came to me with this idea about, doing a canine, her and Deputy Walton. So we have them, the two of them, and Deputy Norman. We have 3 dogs out here. We had none. There was never any ideas of putting canine in the sheriff's office. And now it's a countywide asset at minimal cost to the county. I don't want to say 100% because I'm not sure of that, but it's a hard 95% of the cost is from outside funders. Is there somewhere in the county that there's some bill? Maybe. But just for the sake of someone not saying it's not 100%, I'll say 95% is outside funding sources and a lot of donations. And that canine unit is alive and well, and they do a phenomenal job keeping us safe here in the CJC, going into other municipalities, doing our bomb sweeps, our patrol dog that's out there, and finding prohibitive articles that people abandon outside the courthouse, and also finding missing people. So I think that's a very, very important unit, and I sure hope that continues. Can't even think of a good reason why it wouldn't. So let's just hope that just not only continues, but they continue to grow as well. I think it's extremely, extremely important that that unit's out there. We did a lot of other projects and programs. Our Old Glory for New Glory, partnering with Parks Casino. That was phenomenal. You can come in here and get a brand new American flag for your old flag, and we'll dispose of that old flag. We'll expose that old flag properly. We have an honor guard unit now, our scope unit, which we talked about, that they're dealing with homelessness, drug addiction, mental health issues, hoarding, any type of social illness or social issue that people are faced with. And that is a function of the sheriff's office. That absolutely is a function of the sheriff's office to help reduce warrants. Some of our homeless people have warrants for their arrest. They don't really belong in the criminal justice system. They may have stolen something, and that doesn't, I'm not saying it's right. But they also don't belong to be in jail and tying up a jail cell and costing the county a ton of money, incarcerate them. So our guys and gals will go out, get them before judges, so they're not being tied up, not tying up local police officers with the arrest, and not tying up the court system. So we do mental health transports. We do some site visits with people that are involved in the criminal justice system, and everybody in the county in the social service world knows that and reaches out to our team. So they're phenomenal. The mobile gun permitting unit, whether you're a 2A person, a Second Amendment person or not, I've said 100 times, I don't make the laws, I don't write the laws, I don't dictate the laws, I just enforce the laws. And if people are allowed to have a concealed permit meeting the laws and the rules and regulations by the Commonwealth, then they have the right for that. And we made it easier for people. We'll take a mobile gun permit. We have 2 units now. They'll go out on weekends, they do different events, and let people sign up to get their gun permit. And I think that was that's very, very, very important. And I'm glad that's out there. We've done so many kid IDs and community programs. People would think, well, why is the sheriff's office out here? Why are they out here? Well, because we represent law enforcement also in this county. And to do the kid IDs, we were at Sunday strolls in Bristol Borough. We were at the Q-Mart in Quakertown. We were at Newtown events. We were at Doylestown events. We were at Salem events. You name it, we were there. The crime prevention stuff. If there was an event that we were invited to or we could go to, somebody invited us, we would go. We were at senior expos. We were at veteran expos. to give out that information and spread the word on what the sheriff's office does and the resources that we have for people. So I think that's extremely important. You know, government is difficult. And one of the things I always hated, and still to this day, hardworking residents shouldn't have to jump through hoops to access their rights. So we started partnering with the Prothonotary's office on PFAs. I didn't like when people would say, "Oh, I got turned away from this police department." Sometimes police departments don't have the resources; they can barely do. They barely have enough people to do the criminal work, let alone the civil work. So I said, you know what? Come here, come right down our floor, and we'll serve the PFA. So we have 2 deputies that's what they do pretty much full time, is serve PFAs, because it's very important to the victims that abuser gets served expeditiously and safely. And who better to do it than the sheriff's office that's here in the courthouse, and the deputies are able to perform that task and make sure that the victims are safe and get all the rights that they're entitled to, and aren't being bounced all over the place from floor to floor, from the lower end of the county to the upper end of the county, back to the middle end of the county. So we want to make sure that those folks get what they're entitled to, and make sure that they're safe. We partnered with the Recorder of Deeds for with sheriff sales and helping the Recorder of Deeds secure people's deeds and things of that nature, sharing information. We dealt a lot with the Attorney General's office, with the District Attorney's office on scams. The scams, and they continue. They don't end today. They'll continue, and there'll be more difficult to deal with as these scammers get more sophisticated. So, we really open up that scam center. People can come here and report scams, and we make sure it gets to the right police department, or make sure the person gets sent in the right direction, for that, so that they weren't just wondering who to reach out to. So, doing all that, we wanted to make sure that our interagency efficiency was really upgraded, and I think it is. I think it is. I think that's very, very important. Some of the other things that we've brought to the table here, just helping out local police, and this is probably an episode all for itself that we're just not going to get to, but with the amount of drugs and the sophistication and the complexity of the drugs that are out there now, a lot of the prisoners are sick, and right, wrong, or indifferent, the prison won't take people that are held for incarceration and have medical problems until they're medically cleared. I get it. I don't get it. Whatever. A discussion for another day. But I don't need municipal police in a hospital, and that's 2 officers off the street in the hospital watching prisoners. So we have worked with municipal police that we will help them and take over prisoner watches, so that their cops can be on the street handling 911 calls. The last thing you want is to call 911 and find a long response time or no response time because cops are babysitting a prisoner in a hospital because the jail won't take them. And, I get it. The jail can't open themselves up to that type of liability. I understand to some degree. Also, the medical expenses of these prisoners are astronomical. Once they cross the threshold of the jail, the price is on the county. And now that I got here, being in the county, I know that's a lot of money. But before they cross the prison threshold, the expenses on the prisoner or the welfare system. Government money, but a different pot of money. It's not your exact tax dollar. It might come from you paying taxes, but not from your real estate taxes, where the money from the county comes from. So I understand that. So we worked very good with other agencies and the prison. Dave Kratz and his team there, they did a phenomenal job working with us. We would assist anybody that needed the help, because I think I always saw our role as an arm of the system. We're not municipal police. We don't respond to 911 calls, but we're there to help municipal police and the people wherever we can. And I know I'm leaving out a lot of stuff, but I think that was important to make sure that we were available to assist. We spent a lot of time picking prisoners up, and I took that burden away from some of the local police as well, only when they requested. If they had a local warrant and they didn't have the manpower or the personnel power to go get that person, they can call us, and if we could, we would go get that person, because that is one of our main functions, to transport prisoners. We have to be able to work smarter, not necessarily harder. So, there's no sense having police all over the county, traveling all over the country, picking up prisoners when one agency, that's what my guys and gals do here. They're specially trained in that. I know you would think, well, what kind of special training? But moving prisoners and dealing with humans that are in custody is not an easy task. And remember, you heard what I said? They're human beings. My guys and gals here, I've watched them daily, the way they interact with these prisoners. And I'm talking about people that would disgust you, and you might, what I'm about to say, you might think, well, why do you treat them that way? Why do you treat them well? Because they're human beings in our custody. We don't look at the crime they've committed. We want them coming in safely. We want them going out safely. And to be able to talk to, child rapists and people that commit sexual assaults and people that abuse their spouses and people that abuse elderly and do the heinous murderers, that do the heinous of crimes, everybody got treated with respect because that was extremely, extremely important. So, I wanted to make sure that people understood that. One of my biggest philosophies, I was a big Disney fan, not so much anymore. I don't go, but I used to go to Disney quite often, like once every 9 months when my daughter was young, and she's still a big Disney fan, and goes quite often. But I read a lot of Disney books, and Michael Eisner, who was the CEO for many, many years at Disney World, tells a story in one of his books. Disney has a management class, and one day a guy in the class was out in the Magic Kingdom, and he saw somebody, a Disney worker, somebody that looked like a Disney worker. They had those little name tags where everybody couldn't see him close up. Saw the person bend down and pick up some trash, and he yelled across the courtyard to the person and said, "How many people in your janitorial services, in your janitorial department?" And he hears the guy, what he thought was 4,000 people. He goes, "Wow, that's a lot of people." He's thinking to himself. Well, the next day he's back in class, and who walks in was Michael Eisner, the CEO of Disney World, to give a presentation. And it was the same guy. The guy recognized him, the same guy that picked up trash the day before in the Magic Kingdom. And the student said to Michael Eisner, he goes, "Sir, didn't I see you yesterday over by whatever, the Magic Castle, picking up trash?" He said, "Yeah, that was me." He goes, I asked you how many people are in your custodial department. You said 4,000. And I thought to myself, the guy said, "Wow, that's a lot of people." And he goes, "No, I didn't say 4,000. I said 40,000. He goes, 40,000 people. And the guy, Michael Eisner, said, "Yes. In Disney World, everybody picks up trash." The point of that story is this. I kind of took that philosophy in Ben Salem. I took that philosophy of the sheriff's office. The last thing I would want, and I'd come in the building or I'd come off the elevator, I'd be upstairs in the lobby with the deputies, and somebody would be obviously looking for help or didn't know where they were going, and I would walk up to them, not because the sheriff is any special than anybody else, but, I try to, do what I preach. And I would ask that person, "Can I help you? Where do you need to go? Or what's that paperwork?" You seem a little confused, and everybody here helps. And they did the same thing in Ben Salem. And that's what I wanted them to do here. Everybody works to help. No one's better than anybody else. If there's a customer, and I call them customers because they are, we're here to provide a service. You have no choice but to pay our bill because you have to pay your taxes. So, we survive on tax dollars. So, we're not really going away, but you still doesn't mean you should take advantage of the person. You still have to treat them as a customer because they can go away. They can move out of Bucks County. So I wanted to make sure that everybody got treated well. And I think the men and women here do a phenomenal job. I know I've said it before, but I can't even begin to tell you how proud I am of all the work so that they do. And government needs to be customer service oriented. And I think we forget that. I've been involved in a lot of debates here. I'll say debates. We'll make it peaceful. But everything I've tried to do, school resource officers, we have a civil unrest team here now. We finally got the equipment and the training for that and a vehicle for that. The school resource officer position, we were able to do the one school, but then it got pulled out from underneath us. And then another school entity asked for an SRO that only we could do, and it was denied by county commissioners, two of them anyway. And we should be making decisions that are for the public and not what's politically in favor of our political team. And, a lot of times that's how people make decisions here. But I tried never to do that. I tried to make the decisions based on what was best for the public. Everything new that we did here was for the public. Any new units, any new projects, any new philosophies, any new initiatives were always what's best for the public. And I'll continue to do that in whatever my next endeavor is. It'll always be the public first and not anything else. So, I hope people really understand that. I think it's important. In wrapping this up, some of the total effort was to modernize this department, make it a little bit more technically advanced. We have now all our policies are through a system called Power DMS, so we could do training through that. It tracks that. Or if I change a policy, we don't have to print up 20 million pieces of paper. It all goes out electronically. These are important to do that. We have now CALEA and PLEAC, body cameras, our records management system, our evidence management system, making this high tech. And there was a lot more things I wanted to do, just didn't have the time to do it. And of course, working with our local law enforcement, all over the county, the 39 police departments. Someone sent me, I had a couple of texts since November 4th. This is the best relationship that local law enforcement has ever had with police departments. Someone sent me another one, how much work the sheriff's office has really done in the last 4 years. And I hope that continues, and I'm pretty sure it will. I hope the new sheriff, I think he's a decent guy, and I hope he continues to take the programs and make it better. The sheriffs before me did a good job in doing what they knew and doing what they could. You always try to leave the place better than you found it. I think we all have done that. Going back to Sheriff Michaels, Sheriff Donnelly, Sheriff Worrell, and now myself, I definitely think the sheriff's office is better than when I came in January 22. And I hope for the next sheriff that the sheriff's office, when he leaves, is better than how he found it. That's going to be hard to do. No, I'm just kidding. No, but I'm sure he can. Technology over the next 4 years is going to change. I hope he continues to advance this office. I hope this office continues to expand. And I'm looking forward to following it. I'm looking forward to see the men and women and the new projects they're doing and seeing what they embrace and working with the sheriff to make this office. It's not my office. It's not his office. It's the people's office. It's the Bucks County Sheriff's Office. And who's ever in this seat needs to remember that at all times. And our job is to serve the public, make Bucks County a safer, better place every single day. My philosophy has always been in Bensalem and in the sheriff's office, taking everything I've talked about during this last podcast, episode 26. If we could prevent one more victim, then we've done a good job. And I surmise we've prevented a lot more than one. And I know that work will continue. As this holiday season is upon us, just weeks away, both Hanukkah for me, Christmas, Kwanzaa, all the holidays out there, to all our neighbors, to all our relatives, to all our, community. Happy holidays. Have a very safe new year. Remember, no matter how bad it is today, the sun will rise tomorrow and you'll have another day at it. So God bless you. God bless Bucks County. God bless the sheriff's office. And of course, God bless America. Folks, it's been my pleasure serving you for the last 4 years.